how will you support the collaboration between, or coalition between community-based organizations, city, as well as district entities working on common youth development issues?
I plan to be a real education mayor. Because, quite frankly, I know a lot about it. When I was a school board member, I chaired a lot of national and statewide urban school board associations and led on a lot of major issues and lobbying, both in Washington and in Sacramento. So one of the answers to the question is I actually plan to be pretty active in both the national associations and in Sacramento. The co-chair of my campaign is Sandra Swanson, to particularly lobby on some particular issues, and he's been a real champion around these kinds of issues. So I want to change the rules, change how funding goes at the state level. Just as when I was working at a national level, I was Bill Clinton's appointee to the Title I committee and fought very hard that urban areas and areas with higher concentration of kids should get a higher percentage of the funding. So I think that that's going to be part of the strategy around preschool, et cetera, that we need to make sure that if the funding shrinks, that just doesn't get cut across the board, but that the cities that need it the most still maintain and get a higher percentage of funding. So that's one strategy. On the issue of how do we coordinate citywide, I plan as mayor to try to call together the main players of not only the Kids First, but the major Y programs with the school district, et cetera, to really look at how, look at neighborhood by neighborhood, citywide, where do we have coverage? I was looking and trying to get a GIS map of our own staff the other day just to see, okay, so where is there preschool left? Right? If the school district has been this decimated, where's our Head Starts? What can they, I saw Linda Dozel walk in, who's been working on that. Where is the greatest need and what's left, and what can we do then collectively to make sure in those neighborhoods where the poorest kids are, where there's the least amount of preschool, that at least we prioritize our funding that we have. So that sort of answers your generic question, and I'll get to your more specific one when we get to after-school program.
And
I want to know how the city can leverage funds. It really comes down to money.
Yeah, the classic catch-22. Well, here again, it's going to come back to having to make some priority choices. And, you know, I see some care providers out there that are doing things with young adults, with adolescents, with gangs. All those things are important. And we have to decide if, and I think I would take as an axiom that 0 to 3 is where the heaviest emphasis ought to be in all of the manifestations. So I think we have to look at, again, what monies are we already spending, or the community, has the community given us to spend? The only way, and I think Oakland's general fund right now, which is a morass, and I would challenge anybody to try to figure out what's there. It's intentionally opaque. We can't know exactly what our cash flow is at any given point. But let's assume we start with our $38 million debt service. Forget the deficit, the debt service. That's general fund money we spend and we don't get back. If you reduce that to 0, in other words, if you bought out that debt, you sold things and paid that down, that money would be released for operational services. That's the only way we're going to make money internally. That's got to be done. I mean, we cannot afford. People say, well, you don't want to sell land in a recession. Well, a lot of these 0 to 3s are never going to see a boom time if we don't act now. So that's one thing, and that's within the power of the mayor and the council right now, has been for a long time. Secondly, I believe that if we're going to go back to the voters again, and we're going to have to do that as early as next year in the spring, I think we go back with a comprehensive policy based upon schools and city services. We can do that. We can form a relationship that we put on the ballot so that people know that you're going to get $2 of service for every dollar that you pay in taxes. And if the emphasis should be on child care and those are the highest priorities, then that's where it ought to be. Now, we don't have a lot of time to have, you know, study groups, task forces, and stuff like that. So we just have to say, You know, I mean, bananas is sort of the past master. Yeah, exactly. So we just have to say, okay, here it is. If we all agree, this is where it's going to be, even if we don't agree. So none of this, this is not beyond the realm of being able to be done in the next 6 months. Yeah, exactly. Have been for a long time.